Welcome to Mike Happens, a podcast that brings you inspiring, funny, and authentic stories about resilience, life's unexpected journeys, and the incredible strength of the human spirit. My name's Jay Connor Riley, your host, and as a voiceover artist who's also navigating life with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I've learned firsthand that life's toughest moments often make the best stories. What's up, you guys? Thanks for coming back to another episode of Mike Happens with Jay Connor Riley. That's me, your host. We're doing things differently this year, so I'm excited about that. We have a kind of new little setup going on. If you're watching, we now have some watching capabilities, so I don't know if I'll do every episode. We'll probably do it based on the guest if they want to be visual or not. Might not always have this. Yeah, I'd like to move forward and maybe have some visual abilities if we can, right? Why not? But we're on episode 6 here, and I wanted to wrap up last year a little bit. I know we're getting towards the end of January, so I feel like it's now or never, right? But I normally don't really I don't know if I normally stop and reflect like I do, and I'm not the person that's like, oh, it's January 1st, got to make my New Year's resolutions. I think you should always have resolutions, and I do think it helps to just, a lot of people jumpstart then, right? The key is to keep going. Yeah, I try to just keep moving forward and not, I guess, don't get me wrong, I like to reflect, but I don't know if I like to reflect in the sense that, oh, end of the year, let's do some reflection. But I feel like this year I kind of, there was a lot that happened in 2025 for me, and had a pretty historical, I guess, monumental birth date. And I feel like, maybe I talk about that. Maybe not the age I turned. I'm going to let you guess that. See how old I am. But yeah, let's jump into it. Again, I want to do a little bit of reflection on this episode, and yeah, we'll go from there. So for me, 2025 was definitely a year that forced me to slow down mentally, physically. I didn't have an option. I was pretty broken, and day to day I struggle sometimes with my physical health and my Ehlers-Danlos and stuff, and just being able to adapt this year was certainly a bit overwhelming at times. Part of that, I want to kind of reflect on that and, realize just because not everything is kind of working and going for you doesn't mean you aren't where you're supposed to be. And I think that was a big thing that I learned this year. As much as I wanted things to happen and move forward and push, I didn't have an option. There was times where I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. I had to slow my roll. So trying to appreciate that more and not be in that kind of fight or flight mode all the time and just reflect more. Yeah, so kind of let's start. I feel like one of the bigger things that happened for me in the beginning of the year was obviously the ski injury. That was a rude awakening for me. Again, if you haven't listened to the episode, please check it out and kind of recap what happens and what went on. And don't call last run. That's one of those skier codes, low-key things that you don't do, okay? I called last run on a green, took me out, okay? So don't sleep on the greens, don't sleep on the easy trails, because that's when you get caught slacking the most, in my opinion. So, but yeah, so the ski injury happened. I would say my life changed pretty quickly, and the people around me too definitely were affected. And I appreciate everyone that helped me out in my trying times, my partner and everyone else in between that helped me. And I think people's true colors really show in those times when you're really having a hard time. So thank you, everyone, again. I know I've mentioned that in the past. Losing independence and your kind of source of routine and kind of confidence, and just the emotional mental game that I was kind of dealing with, trying to wait for surgery, recovery's unknown. Am I going to recover properly from this? I've had times where I don't feel like I recovered properly, or I need more surgery, or whatever the case may be. And thankfully, I, on top of got the surgery and got that all done, I found an awesome new surgeon that I didn't have before this. I mean, I did have a great surgeon
but he happened to retire right before all this happened. It was January that he retired, and February the injury happened, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought I would have a little bit of time to find a doctor. No. So that was a big thing that happened too with the whole situation. And yeah, that life changes really quick. You know, I thought it was going to be a routine ski weekend with the family, and the good snow wasn't even there yet. That was the annoying part. Like, it was coming the next day, and yep, I didn't get to enjoy that because I was broken. And that's okay. But not only that, this year I kind of had to sit with myself more and accept certain things. And to be honest, I struggled with it. It was a struggle. I still think I'm still recuperating, so to say, in certain ways on that limiting part of life, and just how I have been having more limitations as I'm getting older. And I think one of the big things this year was, voiceover. Voiceover was one of those great things that came this year. It just so happened to work out in the terms of trying to dive into it full time. It's like, well, can't really do anything anyways in terms of work and stuff like that. So I might as well give this a go, right? Which we'll get into that a little bit. I'll talk about the voiceover part, But yeah, I think the injury really showed, trying to be patient with myself, accepting I can't do certain things in the moment, and then also just relearning how to do things, asking for help. I feel like I've always struggled with asking for help, especially I don't want to put more weight on other people that are, we all have a lot going on. So it's hard to ask for help when people are already stretched thin, right? But I think for ourselves, we're more capable than what you give yourself credit for. So I think that's another thing to reflect on. As difficult as it was, I also did a lot of deep reflection, and a lot of what if it doesn't come back the same? Just all those what ifs, right? But I also think the what ifs don't always have to be bad. I think so many times we put in the category and we box in what ifs in this fear and anxiety, and this, we put it in this box that's not good. And I think it can be good. I think that's one thing I've been learning lately in this year is the what ifs can be good. What if my shoulder comes back better than it was? What if I can throw a baseball again? Like, I don't know. As always a joke. I always joke about coming back to baseball, the rookie of the year. Who knows? I don't think my doctor would be too happy about that. But, just having more positive outlook on the what ifs. I think that's a big thing that I learned from this whole thing. And, I think being resilient, and you don't know how resilient you are until you face kind of adversity and times like this where it's just like, wow, okay, like, yeah, this was a lot, and it can still be a lot, but I'm getting through it. And yeah, I think that was one of the things I really learned this year is you're tougher than you think. Tougher than you think. So one of the weird things for me for 2025, which I kind of touched on, is I think it was probably one of my hardest years, but also one of the best in the sense that I'm finally getting a taste of voiceover. I'm finally being able to make strides with that. And, it was such weird timing because I already kind of finished my training with my coach and everything. And, shout out to him. He is a goat. Not only did he help me with my training, but he helped me get my demo made, and he's a demo producer. So shout out JMC. You're the man. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me. And you've been a great mentor. So thank you so much. So yeah, I finished it up, and then I got the injury, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like we're preparing to do my demo. Like I already had kind of my demo script written out. Like, I'm practicing, getting ready. I'm like, all right, this is coming. I think I postponed the first date. I pushed it back a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? I think it was a week or two after the injury. I'm like, I think I can stand in the booth. I think I can do this. Because that's the other thing. That was one of the big things that drew me to voiceover, especially not only like I really want to do this for the longest time, and I really do enjoy voiceover. And, for like since I was a kid, it's always tickled my brain a little bit. But as I've been getting more physically challenged and issues and struggling with that, with my, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it kept kind of coming back like, well, voiceover, sure, you do need to use your body to like, do certain characters or whatever it may be, but I can still be like physically not 100%. Like I don't need to lift 30 pounds in the booth, So that there's those limitations that I'm like, okay, like now I still feel productive and I still can be productive in a career. So I think that's one of the great, like, not only that I want to, but it's almost like I felt like I needed it in a way where it's just, this is a career I need because there's only so many options that I can do, right? So I really, the timing was really weird, and timing is weird. And I think the universe speaks to you in those sense. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I do think there's signs from the universe that come through, and there's certain things that I don't think you should fight, especially good things. It's like, we're not gonna fight it, right? So shortly after my injury, I do my demo and I killed it. And in my opinion, my coach was like, "Wow, you really did it. Like you did great, and I'm very proud of it." And that's basically in voiceover community, that's kind of your business card. Your demo's like, here, this is some of what I can bring to the table. So I'm forever grateful for his help and kind of. I'm very big on doing things the right way, and I want to do the voiceover industry justice and do it the proper way. I don't want to be an issue in the industry, right? I want to be the professional that is expected from my clients and my agents and stuff. So that's what I'm doing. And with that, I've gained agents. I've been able to lock in 3 agents the past year, and that's just crazy to me. I'm on these people's rosters, and even clients, I'm on rosters that like people are considering me, and that's just so cool. Like I wasn't there, and I was able to do some voiceover stuff. I did one of my first international like big deal stuff. Like I also kind of stepped out of my comfort zone. I was like, I have the training. I'm going to do this, and I was really excited. I was able to do that and put my training and skills to the test, and it was just like, wow, this is so cool. And I opened up a whole new realm of like voiceover that I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. So yeah, I was able to lock in some agents. I have an international agent. Much love, guys. Thank you, guys. And yeah, it's so while I'm dealing with all this, injury and physical, mental, emotional kind of stuff, I also have this light. Like, voiceover was this light for me that it was just like, oh yes, like, this is happening. So it felt good. And for me, it built up my confidence, made me feel good. Like, wow, you're doing something that is like, I'm proud of. So it's really cool. Like, just sitting in this booth, like talking to you guys, like this wasn't happening before this year. So, I felt like it was really important to do an episode like this where I kind of reflected a bit and kind of gave myself a little credit. I feel like I'm definitely harsh on myself. I struggle with my self-esteem a lot. And being able to be like, yeah, I did that. I made it happen. It's happening. I'm getting auditions. I'm doing auditions. I'm getting shortlisted. I'm getting booked. Like, that's just so cool. Like I made money from something that I wanted to turn into a career. And it's just like, that just, it blows my mind. So it really goes to show you, like, though you might be having maybe the toughest, hardest time and whatever it may be, you still got to look for that light. You got to find a light. There is a light, and it's a matter of finding it and holding on to that, because you need the light with the bad, you need the good with the bad, and you can see the good when you're dealing with the bad, and you can see the bad when you're dealing with the good, you know? So it's like having those levels, I think is big in life. You know, if you're just on this one coast, and, you know, don't get me wrong, I think if everything's going good, everything's going great, that's great. I'm happy. Like, keep doing what you're doing, be happy. But I feel like sometimes people, and this can go one way or the other. I think not realizing, oh, like, things aren't good or things are really good. And, like, you know, so it's like finding that balance. I think life has a balance, and being able to grow from your mistakes is a big thing that, you know, I think everyone's trying to learn from, and, you know, just being honest with yourself. And I think a big thing too, like, you know, growth doesn't necessarily stop just because you're hurting and, like, physically hurting, and, like, things aren't really going your way. Like, you can still grow during I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, you can still grow during these difficult times. And I mean, I certainly didn't win this year by being, like, this unstoppable force, and, like, you know, this, I don't know, this being that's just like, oh, like, he's just killing it, you know? Like, I won because I stayed in the game. I kept going, and I think that's a big thing with a lot of people, is like persevering, overcoming, and but also still sticking with it. Keep going, even on the days that you're not motivated and things aren't happening. It's okay to not have your best days and your off days, but it's about getting back on the horse and being honest with yourself. Like, okay, like, enough's enough. We got to jump back on this horse. And that's another big thing that happened this year. I had a pretty big birthday. I'm not going to talk about the age, but maybe I'll guess. I want you guys to guess how old am I? How old do you think I am? Where you put me at? Throw some comments or whatever. Send me an email. Maybe if you get it right, we'll, I don't know, I'll give you some. Or not. But it definitely made me reflect more. I ended up having an awesome birthday. I spent time in Scotland. I was in Scotland. That was super cool experience, man. The Scottish people, thank you. You guys treated me and my partner well, and it was so fun. Super fun. We kind of mostly hung out in Edinburgh, and we did a little tour in the Highlands. I'd say we probably, you know, maybe might have wanted to stay, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days in Edinburgh, and then maybe bop around more. But the Christmas market was there. My birthday is kind of around Christmas, so that was cool to see that, and it just killed some of the time. I think if the Christmas market wasn't there, I'd be like, okay, we stayed way too much time in Edinburgh. But it was so cool seeing all the things and checking off all the things. You know, my partner's a big Harry Potter fan, which I also love Harry Potter. So we did a lot of different Harry Potter kind of excursions, and, you know, seeing where inspiration was taken for Harry Potter, and, you know, seeing, like, you know, Dean's Village and all the cool spots, seeing the viaducts where the train goes over. That was in the Highlands. That was pretty cool. You know, and that's one of those things I love about traveling, is it shows me, it gives me a different perspective. And I think one of the things I love about traveling is you're like a little kid again, in the sense that, you know, your day-to-day life, say you kind of have the same routine, you got the same drive to work, all that fun stuff. You're not going to remember that tree or that thing, you know, that cool building. Even now, it's like, architecturally, where I live, there's a lot of historical buildings and cool stuff that I'm like, you drive by it every day and you don't think about it. And then sometimes you're like, huh, wow, that is really cool. That's the only kind of building in this area, maybe even the country. Those little things that you don't even think about, you appreciate, I feel like, in different countries and different cultures, because you're seeing it all for the first time. Like, you're a little kid again, where, you know, little kids see something for the first time, they're like, whoa, you know. So it was really cool. The Christmas market's really cool. I guess I didn't really have necessarily a bad time. We end up flying in from Glasgow, and that was the way to do it. You take a train right to Edinburgh, which, in hindsight, I wish we would have stayed a couple days in Glasgow, just kind of see what the energy is there and stuff. But we definitely want to go back. There's this cool Highland road trip that we're looking forward to eventually doing. Because man, the Highlands, so beautiful and really big on road tripping. And I think road tripping in other countries is just super cool. Getting used to the left side of the road might be a little much. I think we'll be fine. I think it'll be okay. So yeah, I had a fantastic birthday doing that and being able to bounce around Scotland and just kind of seeing the sights. And man, they do such a good job at preserving their history and buildings. And it's like, wow, that's a 600-year-old building or 500. Scottish people maintain, they're like, this is important. We can't break this building for 500 years. Generations of generations are like, this is important. And that's just so cool. And I know the United States is kind of a newer country, so we only can have things that are technically 250 years old if you're going off of the country's age, United States. So it's just like you have New England that has older buildings, which obviously things have kind of gotten taken out. And once you get out west and like Midwest, then it's like, oh, well, that's fairly new, So it's really cool to see them preserve some of these buildings and different sites and just, it's just like, oh, those are the, ruins from 1,200 years ago or whatever. And it's just like, wow, that's cool. Like even preserving that, that's so cool. So I really appreciate that. And another thing that I found interesting was like the clash of modern and historical. And I guess one of the examples I could use is, you go into a bathroom, right? And it's ADA friendly, handicap friendly, where it's like, it has like the arms and like, different things to like help you get up and down if you need. And I just found it so fascinating that it's just like, oh, like this bathroom is like drilled, this ADA setup is like on these 500-year-old brick building that is just super. It's just so interesting to me to see the modernness mixed, but also preserving the old things. So. Pretty historical. I mean, pretty big birthday, I guess. And I'm not one to, I guess, put numbers on things and like, in sense of like, oh, well, I hit this birthday and need to do this and that and all the other things. But I've definitely I've learned there's a lot has changed in this past stretch of time and 10 years or so, and just seeing how my perspective has changed and just like different things that I want to do versus I had the idea of doing, or just now I feel a lot more clear and confident, especially with voiceover. I feel like that's something I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I like. Whereas, 10 years ago, I'm just like this little entrepreneur, like kid that wants to like do something that's cool and like finding something I like that sticks, that also, there was trying to find that. And I feel like as much as I tried different things, and I'm so blessed that I've got these random skills that I've learned, and oh yeah, I can do that. Yep, yeah, I know a little bit, and then voiceover was just a different light for me. It was different. It tickled different things in the brain, so it was really cool to finally find that. And yeah, it's a cool new chapter, and I'm not exactly where I want to be in everything, and even voiceover. But I know what I want to build now, and I know what I want to do, and I feel a lot better knowing that, instead of just trying different things and hoping something sticks or something likes. And being able to not be a perfectionist was a big thing for me. Like stepping back for me, I tried to do, for instance, camera, photography, videography, and I do still enjoy it in certain senses. I don't really do it anymore as much. I would like to actually get back on that train if I can. But it just, I was being too much of a perfectionist about it. And there was things about it that it wasn't it for me. So it's really cool to be able to grow from stuff like that. And like, I did clothing and stuff like that. And it's okay to try things and it not be what you need to do forever. Okay. You don't need to like, oh, I committed, 6 months of my time and life and energy and all this research on doing something. You don't got to keep doing it. You don't got to force yourself. And I think that's a big thing that people need to learn when they're trying different things. And it doesn't need to be forever. You don't need to fully commit to something. You can just test the waters, see what happens. That's okay. I think that is something as humans, we're just so like, well, if I don't do this, like people are going to look at me differently or whatever it might be. Like, and that's okay. It's fine. Maybe they will look at you differently. But you can't say you didn't try. You can't say you didn't put in the effort to do whatever you're trying to do. So give yourself that grace. I think that's a big thing that people don't do is, it's not about how fast you do something. It's not about how perfect you do it. It's about you trying it. And, if you like it, keep going. If you don't, that's cool too. I think that's a big thing I've learned as I've gotten older and, just trying to be more grounded, less rushed, stop being in the fight or flight kind of mode and just, it's okay. Like sit and think, enjoy it, enjoy the breeze. Enjoy the wind of the air. Enjoy going down the road, going down the street from your house and looking at a tree that you didn't appreciate. Healing was a lot. Waiting for surgery because, I just had to wait and like, oh, well, you're not ready. And I'm okay. But I'm ready. I am ready to get this done. And having that patience, like, okay, we're not where I want to be, so to say, but I'm where I need to be. And that's not always the same thing. I think people kind of forget. I have gratitude for being able to, find such a great doctor and really particular about listening. Like he's such a good listener too, and he appreciates my feedback. So I really appreciate that too. I appreciate everyone. Gratitude to everyone that has helped me. The opportunities that show up quietly, appreciate those and have gratitude for those opportunities that you might not even think in the moment that are big deal. But when you look back, it's like, wow, I'm really glad I did that. I think one of the things is like this year definitely stripped away some things for me. And like, again, mentally, physically, emotionally, it was a lot this year. And it's still a little bit going into this year, even though, I'm not 100% and I still do need another surgery. And I think I'm looking at it differently though. And I'm reflecting on kind of the positives and the good things that did come out of it. And I think everything, I don't mean to be cliche, so to say, but I do think everything happens for a reason. And I'm not sure if this injury and everything happened that I would be pursuing voiceover full time like I did and how I am. So I'm definitely really appreciative of that where, I don't know, like maybe I wouldn't have jumped in like I did. Maybe, there's the what ifs, but the what ifs can also be good, right? So I'm certainly not the Jay that I was at the start of 2025. And I'm okay with that. I think we all have learning and we all have growing to do. And I think one thing, we all can be better. I think we all can be better. And if someone says, I think when people are like, I am the way I am, that's who I am. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that because that just to me means you're a perfectionist. So always be open, and I appreciate everyone that has listened to any of these episodes. If this is your first episode, thank you so much. And again, new things are coming. I'm in the works with actually bringing people on. We actually have some people on the schedule that we're working towards. And I appreciate my buddy. One of my buddies is kind of helping me out. So thanks to you, dude. I appreciate, I feel like he's been helping me a bit, so I appreciate his push, and he's been someone I met because I was doing voiceover stuff, and lo and behold, we've been clicking pretty well. So really appreciate him, and I think he knows who I'm talking about if he's listening, because I think he's one of the few listeners. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. And in the midst of chaos, there is always an opportunity. Just remember that. And thank you guys for everything you guys have done, and anyone that's listened. If you're listening to this while things are kind of heavy, uncertain, unfinished, you misdirected, or you're overwhelmed, whatever it may be, just know that progress always isn't loud, and it's not always what you see. Sometimes you're making progress when you don't even know it. Sometimes it's just you healing, staying curious and choosing not to quit, and you just keep moving forward. And if I'm still standing here, I think you can too. So thank you guys. And this was episode 6 of Mike Happens with Jay Connor Riley. We're going to sign off, and again, cool things coming. So appreciate you.
Well, that about wraps it up. Thanks for tuning in to Mike Happens podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe on Spotify and available on my website voiceswithj.com and other streaming services. And join me each episode as we explore the beautiful, hilarious, and inspiring ways life shapes our stories. Until next time, remember, every story matters, especially yours.